Welcome to part 4 of my Italy series, where I visit the Dolomites in Venice. After leaving Lake Garda, we headed to Venice to get our rental cars. I was somewhat excited to see Venice, a city renowned in media, one whose streets were replaced with waterways with no cars to run you down. However, it was a much different picture. Originally I was going to make this into 2 separate videos, but I didn't have enough footage. While most of the footage here shows the beauty of Venice, it wasn't so pretty in person. Let me correct this footage. The water smelled vile, so much so that I almost vomited from the smell. This might be due to the fact that the city's sewage runs in the water, just like medieval times. Ironically, people were eating fine dining like it was nothing next to the most vile stench. The only escape from the smell were the big waterways, which had enough air to wash away the stench. Venice was also insanely packed, which I failed to capture because I was feeling lazy. Besides the massive crowds and annoying stench, another annoying thing was the city's layout. The city was an absolute maze, filled with narrow alleyways that twisted and turned, with no street signs to mark your way out. Despite these major complaints, there were a few moments of quiet among the bustle. After finally escaping the city, we journeyed to the Dolomites. The whole ride consisted of beautiful vistas of towering white peaks and steep cliffs. We arrived at the Airbnb just as the sun was setting. The house, a restored manor from the late 15th century, was filled with various medieval decorations with an excellent view of the mountains. Despite these cool decorations, the house reeked of mold due to the jacuzzi in the basement. Following morning, I took a better look at the house's decorations, from a trophy room to some wacky medieval murals. I also discovered a book written by the owners. The book detailed the history of the house as well as the family. Apparently, the estate had been gifted to a Venetian mercenary back in the 1400s, who built the house and had it passed down the generations. The family's history was somewhat grim, with sections of fratricide and only one line surviving. The house was almost lost too. Not wanting to spend all day inside, I went out to explore the town. There were a few medieval-looking houses as well as a church that offered a wonderful view. I then left to visit a nearby lake. In the forest, there was water flowing all over the place. Apparently there were a number of springs bubbling out of the ground. I stuck my hand in one and tried to block it. It sort of felt like a jacuzzi jet. I also drank some of it, which tasted alright. Nearby, I found a train tunnel which I quickly ran through to get to a bridge. Not wanting to push my luck on the bridge, I decided to leave. Back at the house, I discovered a nearby church that dated from the 1300s. The following morning, we headed for Lago di Braies, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The drive took us through winding valley roads surrounded by towering white peaks, across alpine villages, and into mesmerizing tunnels. In some areas along the drive, the ground was completely covered in snow. Eventually, we made it to the stunningly beautiful lake. After walking around most of the lake, I decided to climb across a rock field until I got to the base of a snowy mountain. Not wanting to get hurt, I headed back, but then spotted a potential cave up a rock scree. It turned out to just be a small crack in the rocks. Returning down was nerve-wracking as all the rocks kept sliding out from under me. After finally circling the lake, we started our drive back. Along the way, we spotted some bunkers on a mountain, so we pulled off to take a look. There were 2 bunkers, one of which had a ladder to the roof. After climbing on the roof, we decided to head in. Unfortunately, I was so excited and terrified what would be in the dark, my camera work was all over the place.
Falcon verboten. Oh, water. Oh, that's water.
It was very wet and pitch black in most spots. To make matters worse, everything was picked clean, so there wasn't much to look at besides concrete walls.
That's all water. Let's get the hell out of here.
Not getting very far, it was too wet to explore the first bunker, so we headed to the second. Had some spray paint as well as the sub-level.
Oh look, you can see out. There's the second story. This is probably where the stairs was. Alright, let's get out of here. Shoot, which one is out? Alright, we're lost now.
After getting a little lost in the second bunker, we finally made our way out. We then began our return journey, stopping by sightseeing spots and running into more ruins. The following day, we began a drive to look for bunkers, which I'll cover in a separate video. After that long day out, we returned to pack up for the final day. Unfortunately, there was a mishap in our tickets and we had to stay in Venice again. Exhausted from the trip, I didn't take much footage. Venice was packed and reeked nonetheless. However, the following morning the streets were less crowded, which allowed for a moment of rest. Taking a boat to the airport, I had a much better view of Venice. After getting through the terminal, we were on the plane, thus ending our journey. Overall, we spent a little bit too much time in the Dolomites, which wore us down. If we had spent a day or two in Lake Garda, it would have been much more balanced. Except for Venice and occasionally the bus system, the whole Italian experience was a wonderful journey that I hope to revisit sometime in the future.